Hi, my name is Catherine Raike, and I'm a candidate in the Educational Leadership Program at USF St. Pete. My action research project was based on supporting ELL students on the ELA FSA exam. To introduce my school, it is Hawk High School, and there are approximately 2,200 students of very different backgrounds that attend this school. Currently, our school is a grade of C, and out of these about 2,000 students, 104 of these students are currently in the ESOL program. 54 of these students are in the lower bottom quartile of the FSA ELA exam, and a total of 302 students are in the lower bottom quartile, and 18% are ELL students. Unfortunately, the data shows that from 2016 to 2019, ELL students have made 0% achievement gains in on the ELA FSA exam. And this was a huge significant problem that was discussed in PLC and with my principal. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to focus on this area of students. Out of the 54 students in the lower bottom quartile, they range from many different language proficiencies. Some students are monolingual, some are bilingual, and some are completely fluent in English, but are still struggling with that academic language to meet the needs that they need for the reading exam and the different strategies that they need. So this data shows that, students are really struggling with this exam at many different English proficiency levels. So the action steps that I took during this whole process was to really collaborate with the people in my school. So I worked with the reading coach and the writing coach, and I also worked with 4 English teachers and 4 reading teachers. I am the ESOL resource teacher, so I teach 5 of these classes, 5 ESOL classes. So I was able to really help support the ELL students and the teachers during this whole project. So at first, I met with the reading and the writing coach to determine the ELA FSA trends. And on the ELA FSA trend from last year, students scored, they had a 14% achievement in the key ID and details category. And actually, this category was the lowest category out of the 3. So there's key ID and details, craft and structure, and integration of knowledge and ideas. And they scored a 14%, and this was the lowest. So I determined this would be my focus. To begin, I met with the 8 teachers collectively as a group. We worked together bi-weekly, and we discussed different techniques, strategies, graphic organizers, and standard aligned assessments that would support the ELL students in our English reading and ESOL classes. Then I also met with the individual teachers weekly to conduct coaching cycles to support their individual needs with their individual students. So during this time, we focused on standard aligned assessments, common assessments, graphic organizers, and just different strategies that could help support these students in their classes. During the pre-assessment data collection, we actually determined using Common Lit that students scored a 0% in key ID and details. So they actually decreased from the 14% on the FSA to 0% understanding. So this was a huge target for us. So during the coaching cycles and during the PLCs that were bi-weekly, we discussed how we would break down the standards. So the reading teachers were in charge of teaching the informational text standards for key ID and details, and the English teachers were in charge of teaching the literature standards for key ID and details, and just really focusing on those areas separately. And myself, as the ESOL resource teacher, I did all 6 of those standards so that we could really work together and just really hit those 6 standards all together. So by doing this, we use the same strategies, we use the same techniques and graphic organizers so that all students were collectively using their skills that they could use that they were getting in different classes. So the next area of focus was to conduct lunch and learns 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with our bilingual paraprofessionals. And again, this was another way to support students on the FSA ELA with different strategies, using their home languages, translations, and vocabulary instruction to understand what the standards meant, what the question was asking them, and using the skills they were learning in class to just push those skills to a higher level. So these three things, the bi-weekly PLC meetings, the weekly individual meetings with teachers, the coaching cycles, and the lunch and learn, we made really significant gains over the last 6 months of this action research project. So the results showed that students really made large gains. So the post-assessment results, we used Common Lit, the same assessment as the pre-assessment, and the post-assessment showed that students increased in KID and details from the 0% originally to 32%. This was pretty amazing. It really felt like all of our hard work really paid off. Each English and reading teacher taught 3 units throughout the course of this action research project, and we collectively kept the assessments from these unit exams. So in English classes, 9th grade ELL students started at the 0% achievement. On the first unit exam, they went from 8% in key ideas to 22% achievement, and then finally to 30% achievement in English. Then in the 10th grade English classes, the ELL students increased from the 0% to 11% to 27%, and then finally 32% over the course of the 3 unit exams. In the reading classes, we still saw steady increases as well. The 9th grade ELL students in reading were at 0%, they increased to 7%, then 16%, and then to finally 29%. And then the 10th grade ELL students had similar success too. They went from 9% to 21% and finally to 34% overall. And they, during those 3 unit exams that we had over the course of the project. And finally, in my class, I really focused on 2 different lessons. I focused on, a more literature-based lesson and then a more informational-based unit. So I only really truly had time for 2 units because I was teaching the monolingual students or the students with low English proficiency. So it took us a lot longer to get where we were going, but they still saw significant increases as well. So in the developmental language classes, the 9th grade ELL students went from the 0% to 8% to 15%, and then the 10th grade ELL students went from the 12% to 22% over the 2 units. So we saw really steady increases over the course of, I think 5 to 6 months. Finally, the conclusion for all this was that when the English and the reading teachers really work together and we have those deep conversations about standard aligned assessments, different graphic organizers, and we're using the same strategies and implementing them, in different ways, but using those set of skills, it really supported the students' understanding of the standard and the language of the standards. Using their home language was really important for us to translate those key words that were in the standard because they're going to be in the FSA questions as well. And using their home language to really support them and utilize the paraprofessionals that we have, we were really able to meet the needs of the students and increase their overall score from 0% to 32% in key idea and details. So the coaching cycles, the tutoring cycles, the PLCs, the graphic organizers, everything that we implemented into our classrooms really did support our students. I think that if we could do this even, cross curriculum together, because those students are in this, in history classes and science classes, I think if we could use the same strategies and, standard aligned assessments that we use in our English and reading classes, I think we would see huge gains across all curriculums at our school. So this learning experience really taught me that it takes a village to really make a change. And it was really nice to be able to work with people in my team that were really willing to help these students and push this standard even further. And during this whole experience, these kids weren't the only ones being supported. It was even the other students in their classes that were possibly struggling with the same types of issues. So to conclude, students went from a 0% achievement rate on KID and details to a 32% achievement rate from the pre-assessment to the post-assessment due to the methods and the steps that I took and the other teachers took to support these students. And so again, I'm Catherine Raike. I'm in the Educational Leadership Program, and my project was to support ELL students on the FSA ELA exam.